Huge problem is a lot of people are not going for a deep stretch nearly enough on their biceps and triceps. Show them a video of lying dumbbell curls and they say that looks lame, but in reality, lying dumbbell curls are probably one of the most brutal and effective ways to train your bicep. Downside, you get to flex your ego less, and that girl over there by the dumbbells isn't as impressed because you're not doing the full stack. But guess what? You know what I'm saying? You don't want any part of her life. She just posts TikTok memes all day long and asks you if like, is this underwear like cute? Like, Hey folks, Dr. Mike here for RP Strength, and there are 5 things about arm training that everyone gets wrong. Okay, it's not everyone, that's thumbnail title whackery, but it's a lot of people. And I would say it's 5 things about arm training that everyone pretty much, or most people at some point got wrong before they got right with God. Speaking of God, what does that have to do with arms? Well, here's the thing. If you're a guy and you have problems in your life, bigger arms will fix all of them. Scott, have you ever gone to the bank and asked for an absurd loan with no collateral?
I haven't.
Okay. You haven't because you anticipated that was stupid and there was no way they're going to give you a loan, right?
Correct.
Did you have giant arms, however?
I definitely didn't.
Yeah, that's really the problem. You got big enough arms, the bank will lend you anything. If you were a girl and all of your friends are getting married, but you're still single, it's probably because your arms aren't big enough. Now it seems obvious, doesn't it? That one grandma you had, she was just such a great woman, so wise in her elder years and still so sprightly. Look at her arms next time you're hanging out with grandma. Kind of big for an old lady, huh? World peace? People just need bigger arms. Animal rights? Can you imagine a cow, Scott, with just big-ass biceps and triceps? There's no way we're mistreating that animal. It's so glorious and gorgeous. Big arms are it. However, on our way to the obviously great goal of getting big arms, which is obvious and amazing, we tend to err in at least 5 really common ways. I'm going to talk about them, talk about why they're not such a great idea to do, and give you alternatives that are better. So number 1 is the myth that you must have an arm day. You must do biceps and triceps together in the same workout. There is no distinct benefit of this. In fact, if your biceps are sufficiently pumped, it actually limits the range of motion on your triceps, which sometimes means they're not getting as much of a stretch and high load stretch, which means actually it's suboptimal. Can you do an arm day? Of course. But it's not a necessity. It's a cool vibe, you get a big pump, but it don't actually help you with long-term growth any more than training arms, biceps, and triceps separately in their own day. It's tough to program this into the same split because a lot of times you do back and biceps, chest and triceps, but then if you're doing arms, it's also like, do I add biceps and triceps, each one of those? It gets confusing. The other problem with this is that there's a discordance in healing time. Triceps tend to be bigger, stronger, more susceptible to stretch under load. And so when you train biceps, you can do 10 sets of biceps and they get sore for a day or 2 and then you're good to go. You train triceps, they get sore for like 2 or 3 days and maybe even 4, and then you're good to go. So if you're always trying to train them together, you'll have to needlessly constrict the amount of effort or volume you do for triceps and needlessly do too much for biceps. It's a weird way to try to make things work. So I got to say, biceps and tris together is totally fine, but absolutely not a necessity or a net benefit. If you're doing it for vibes, God bless you. If you have to screw up the rest of your program to keep an arm day in the mix, consider not doing that. Number 2, a lot of people will say that for legs, you need to do higher reps to grow, sets of 15 to 20. But for arms, sets of 8 to 12 grow best. That is not, in my experience, a dependably true thing. What that ends up doing in most cases is constraining people to one very small rep range, where for biceps and triceps, they're okay, 8 to 12. The reality is that in many cases, sets of 5 to 8 can absolutely 100% grow your biceps and triceps really well. So can sets of 8 to 12. So can sets of 12 all the way up to even 30 repetitions. So instead of thinking, okay, legs higher reps, arms lower reps, think of legs and arms as any number of reps between 5 and 30. And there are 2 things to say about that. 1, try to find which rep range works better for your biceps and triceps in that whole huge range. And 2, understand that any rep range that works best for a while will eventually get stale. And then it's a good idea for you to shift the rep range to something higher or something lower, which on just variation will promote more growth. Don't constrain yourself to one rep range. Experiment across the board, because for you might find that on average, sets of 15 work better for my biceps, sets of 10 work better for my triceps, but every now and again when that gets stale, I flip the script and do them in reverse. Number 3, huge problem is a lot of people are not going for a deep stretch nearly enough on their biceps and triceps. People do cable extensions halfway down. They'll do bicep curls when they don't ever get a deep stretch, or they'll just do bicep curls standing up and they don't have any tension in the bottom because gravity doesn't point in that direction. Show them a video of lying dumbbell curls and they say that looks lame, but in reality, lying dumbbell curls are probably one of the most brutal and effective ways to train your bicep, precisely because it stretches your bicep under its most maximum load in relation to gravity at that very deep part of the stretch. For triceps, skull crushers, etc., yes, you'll have to take some weight off the bar, but going all the way down a skull crusher to touch your nose or your chin or even your throat if you have a spotter. Scott, weren't you once called the throat goat?
Yes, I was.
What does that
I
mean?
made a lot of money on that.
Oh, like singing?
Yes.
It's
Opera.
It's a kind of singing, isn't it?
Sure.
Playing the body trombone.
Skin flute, if you will.
The skin flute, the meat flute. Oh, great instruments, as far as I can tell. Ooh. In any case, going for a deep stretch, any exercise you use, make sure it's loaded, in most cases in that deep position, and do not rip yourself off. Go for that deep, painful stretch, hold it for a second or two, and then go back in. You're going to get more pumps, more soreness, more growth. Downside, you get to flex your ego less, and that girl over there by the dumbbells isn't as impressed because you're not doing the full stack. But guess what? You know what I'm saying? You don't want any part of her life. She just posts TikTok memes all day long and asks you if, like, is this underwear like cute? Like, you're good, Lindsay. You're good. But I'm gonna be up out of here, girl. I don't need this anymore. Although the underwear, Scott, I kind of screwed myself on that one.
Yeah.
I do want to see more of that. What? Huh? Number 4. A lot of people who want big arms do not train them frequently enough. Your triceps, you can train in most cases hard 2 to 3 times a week. Your biceps, you can train in most cases hard 3 to 4 times a week. A lot of people will train the rest of their body and they'll have one day in which they'll train arms. And yeah, your arms get a little bit of work from chest and a little bit of work from back, but that's just teeny enough to maintain them. And then you're really only stimulating your arms robustly once a week. That's crazy. These are small muscles. They do not take 1 week to recover. Look, if you trash your quads and hamstrings, it might take 5 days to recover, 2 extra days to recover completely. And then you hit it once a week, you'll have great gains. But for arms, man, you can just train them more often, and most people don't. So I'd say if you're building an arm program, make sure it has multiple arm days per week, at least 2, maybe as many as 3 or 4 if you can recover. That's the real best way to get as much arm size as you can. And lastly, but not leastly, is myth/mistake number 5, which is forgetting that your arm has 2 parts, the upper arm and the lower arm. Your forearms can contribute massively to how big your overall arms look. It is a distinct visual difference. For whatever size your upper arm is, as big as possible, a bigger lower arm, a bigger forearm will almost always make the overall look better. Scott, can we make a note, please? And we've had the editor folks put in a visual of Frank McGrath. He has enormous forearms. And when you look at his arms, you're like, what the fuck? Maybe we can throw in some Lee Priest or something like that. Big forearm dudes. Well, that's a search I've done before. And why not Jared Feather as well? Bigger forearms contribute massively to arms. So if you want the biggest arms you can, sorry, I said that wrong. You want the biggest arms you can have, you should be training forearms diligently. 3 to 6 sets of some kind of forearm curls. There's a bunch of different kinds. Multiple times per week will get you notably bigger forearms. 100%. All right. Go download the RP Hypertrophy app, link in description, because we have multiple preset templates that focus on arms as a priority and also take care of the rest of your body. So you can just do them verbatim or change them yourself. It's a fucking sweet app. Give it a shot. And if you want more forearm hypertrophy of the more endurance kind, you're going to need to see and hear something beautiful on your screen. And what's more beautiful than my face except maybe everything in this world? And if you want more of my face, I have a separate YouTube channel. It's just called Mike Israetel. I talk about artificial intelligence. I talk about morality. I give life advice. I talk about progress. It's a nice upbeat channel. It's a lot of nerd stuff. But worst case scenario, you could hit the mute button, get to working out your forearms. That's why I watch the channel. That was weird. See you guys next time.